Good morning, everybody. My name is Deborah Byrne from Deborah Byrne Psychology Services, known across social media as DBpsychology. So today I'm going to talk about this week's blog, which is all about anxiety in children. First off, I'd like to say that kids, just like adults, will get anxious, get depression, and the most important thing from this morning, I would say to you, is as a parent, trust your gut instinct, and if you have any concerns at all, please see your GP or refer privately to a psychologist. See your GP first, I would say, and discuss out your concerns. Now, moving on from that, it is not unusual for children to experience anxiety from time to time. Perfectly normal. If you think about it yourself as an adult, we all experience times when we may be a little bit anxious. We change jobs, we move home, and exactly the same is going to happen for the kids. So if they move schools, they move up a school, from preschool to primary school, there's going to be a period of anxiety, both for you and for them. And there's going to be a period of anxiety then too, again, when they move, think about it, when they move on to secondary school. Or again, if they change schools, if you change schools, and you've left an old school, of course you're going to be anxious. Same with a new job. If you got a new job, you'd be anxious in the first few years too. The first few weeks too. So the key there is weeks, not months. It shouldn't go on and on. So, there should be a relatively quick settling down period of a few weeks. Now, the same with moving house. It should settle down. They should start to integrate with other kids. They should start to, be a little bit more relaxed. Once they see you're relaxed, they'll probably relax a bit more, and the anxiety should go away. The same about death and illness. If somebody in the family is ill and you're worried about it, the kids will pick up on that, and of course they're going to be worried. So what we're talking about today is something that has gone on for a bit longer, and you're concerned, things aren't settling down, and you're really concerned. So I will go through some tips that I think you can do, even if you decide to see your GP, or if you decide, you have your child's on a waiting list to see a specialist. There are some things that you as a parent can do at home. But firstly, why would kids be anxious and be anxious for a longer period of time? Well, as I said, moving house, moving school, that can cause, for most kids it'll be okay. The anxiety will settle down after a few weeks. But for some children it can cause quite a lot of anxiety, and they need a lot of reassurance there. The parent, you guys are fighting, even if you think you're not fighting around them, which I hope you're not, but if you aren't, they will still pick up on the fact that, mum and dad are fighting. And for a child, that can blow out of proportion. To you, you understand the nuances. As an adult, we understand that. But a child will think of something, and then that will get blown out of proportion, and they may not talk to you about it. So, good communication here will be one of the things I'm going to talk about. If you're divorced or separated from your partner, again, another thing that is going to cause upheaval in the home. Naturally, you're going to be upset. Naturally, you're going to be stressed. They are too. This is going to, this could cause this can cause an anxiety problem for the child. Illness and death. Illness, if they're ill or somebody else in the family is ill, or a death of a loved one, a close family member, or even a pet can trigger a longer term anxiety. Injury to a family member or to themselves or to a friend. Think about it. Even death, illness, or an injury to a friend's parent can cause them to really worry, particularly if you don't talk to them about it and reassure them that this was an accident, or this is unusual, it doesn't normally happen, and talk to them in their own language, appropriate for their age. Even teens can get very anxious if their friends' parents separate or divorce. They can get very clingy again. They can revert back to that kind of that clingy toddler age, even at teenage years. That's not unusual, and that will settle down in time. If they're getting the reassurance, there's nothing wrong with us, we're fine, we're together as a family. They need that reassurance. Now, they're going to get anxious and stressed with regards to exams, even small exams, even kids. I know they test in school in senior infants, and they do it again every 2 years throughout primary school. They're usually very small tests, but the child can get very anxious. The child can get hugely anxious if it has a learning disability, and there are exams in school like the weekly tables or spelling exams, and the child has dyscalculia or dyslexia or any other learning disability. This is too much pressure for the child. You need to go and talk to the child. If your child has any of these conditions, you must speak to the teacher. Even at primary school, they have to be getting exemptions. They have to be, the teacher has to come on board and work with you, and the child doesn't have to do as many spellings, or the pressure has to be relieved in some way, or not to do spellings at all is what I would recommend. The other thing, of course, children will have anxiety around will be abuse. If they're being abused by somebody, it can be, the anxiety can be something that is a telltale sign here for you. I'm not talking about a sexual abuse here only sexual abuse. I'm also talking about, neglect or physical abuse. Sorry. So if you can, if you're spotting these signs, yes, please don't get alarmed, but it can be a telltale sign of some form of abuse or bullying in school. So do look out for that. And if, again, as I said at the start, if you please trust your gut instinct. You as a parent know your child best. Please trust your gut instinct. Other reasons children can have anxiety and as part of their condition will be ADHD and autism, or anything on the autism spectrum, Asperger's, such as Asperger's. And then, of course, teens with eating disorders can develop social anxiety disorder as well, and depression. So, and depression can also cause anxiety, depression and anxiety can also go hand in hand. So those are long lists, but I felt it was important for people to know about them. The signs and treatment I have listed in the blog, so do check it out. It's at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com. Treatment is quite simple, so do check it out. It's quite effective, and the earlier anybody, including an adult or a child, is got, the quicker and easier it is for treatment. So don't wait. Now, so how you can help. This is the main point of today's vlog. So how can you help? Well, even if you're on a waiting list, there is no harm in trying to help your child. But if you felt your child's anxiety wasn't too bad and you wanted to try some of these, then try them. But at the end of the day, if you can put it in your heart and say, okay, things haven't gotten any better, or things have gotten worse since we tried these, then immediately go to the GP. Immediately go. Okay, don't wait. Never wait with a child. So what can you do? The key here is good communication. Always good communication is key. And I have a blog on how to communicate properly with people. And that, if you can communicate with other adults in a good manner, then you should well be able to communicate with your children. Always using I statements, and particularly with teens, never talk this way face to face with a teen, particularly if you want to talk something important. You're better off doing it when you're sitting side by side, and you're also better off doing it with teens. If you're doing something else, if you're involved in another activity with them, loading the dishwasher, cleaning down the worktops, sitting in the car, get them to sit beside you. They're old enough. Think about how you're going to approach it. Don't just rush in and bring up the subject. And sometimes the subject will come up itself anyway. So if your child brings up the subject of how they're feeling, always validate how they're feeling and respect how they're feeling. It is their feelings. Do not poo-poo it. Do not shut them down. Do not say anything that is going to be anything other than respectful, and validate their feelings. That is highly important. You could make the situation worse if you don't do this. Teach them about stress reduction. Meditation and yoga is always good. I feel all children should be taught meditation. I know some teachers are very good at that, and they're introducing yoga and meditation, mindfulness into the classroom in primary school, but I really think it should be part of the curriculum. And if it isn't, it is no harm in you as an adult learning how to manage your own stress, which is very important when it comes to your kids, and being around your kids, and managing your own anxiety, your own depression, or anything else you might be concerned about your own physical health, that you show them and you model this for them. And that is what I'm saying to you. Model good stress reduction techniques, good anxiety reducing techniques, and teach them meditation. So it will be very worth your while to go and do an evening class. I know they're probably starting around now, the end of the month, for you to take up an evening class in meditation or yoga or something like that, and then teach your children how to do it. Get your kids involved in doing it, helping mum or dad do their exercises, helping mum or dad do their breathing. I do that with my grandson when he's here with me. We do our meditation together, and 5 or 10 minutes. He's just 9, so that's okay. It's actually great. He's great. He thinks it's great. His teacher introduced him, in fact, to this idea of meditation. Listen is the next key point. With communication, you have to listen as well as talk. Always allow a child to explain, or a teen explain and give their point of view. Allow them to talk up. Allow them, to speak. And for you to have the respect, as I said before, to have the respect to actually listen to what they're saying. Take a step back and just listen. Allow them those moments. If you're angry, that is not the time to be tackling this. That's the time you walk away. You say, okay, I need a break. I need to step back, and we will talk about it later. But always listen to your kids. The next few things are things you can do to teach them how to cope with anything in life, really. It's a useful tool. These are useful tools in school, and they're useful tools for their mental health as well as their physical health. So teach them to challenge their own thinking. By teaching them to challenge their own thinking, you're also teaching them to challenge other people's thinking. To see where, is this right? So follow through the sentence. I am a complete failure. That's something kids can say. Oh, I failed. I only got 9 out of 10. Oh, I only got... Challenge that thinking. Get them to challenge the thinking. You challenging it isn't good enough. You have to do this age appropriately. So you have to say to them, okay, well, you only got 4 out of 10 this week, but, why do you think that happened? What can we do to improve that? How can I help? And the next thing I'm going to talk about it, brainstorm. Let's brainstorm. We brainstorm. Not you brainstorm for them, but they brainstorm with you. Now, again, this is going to be age appropriate. So the younger the child, the more input you're going to probably have with your ideas, or help them with the ideas, but allow them to come up with their own ideas. So this brainstorming, it's a form of challenging their own thinking as well. The older they are, they're the ones that should be leading the way, if you like. This empowers them. This really empowers the challenging their thinking, the challenging the negative thinking, and to replace it with the positive thinking. And I have blogs on that up there if you want to know more about it. Brainstorming, it should be about empowering them, about seeing that they can do it. They may not know how to do it yet, and yet is the word, very key word here. It is about empowering them. So, okay, you don't know how to do it yet, but we can do it together. You're a team. Okay, you're their team. You are their support team. Don't avoid the fear. Okay, if possible, don't avoid the fear. Now we have to, balance that out. If this is about bullying, confronting the bullying might be the best idea. So, you have to balance this out as exactly what the basis of their anxiety is, which is fear. But what is the fear about? So you have to become an investigator. you're like a private investigator. You take on that, what's going on. Talk to the friend. Now, don't question their friends, okay? Talking with their friends is different than questioning their friends. I want to know. That's not what you want to do. You don't want to do that, what's going on with my child. I want to know what's going on with my child. Have a chat with their friends. See what's going on in their lives. Sometimes we can pick up that there's something going on in somebody else's life, and this is causing anxiety in your own child's life. Talk to the teachers. Talk to any of the, if they're involved in groups or activities, talk to the leaders, the sports coach, whoever it is, talk to them all and find out how they're doing. And you should be doing that anyway. You really have to keep your finger on the pulse, as they say, as to what's going on and who is in your child's life. Sometimes talking to the friends of their friends, the parents of their friends, it's important. You need to be talking to the parents of their friends on a regular basis to keep an idea of what's going on and what outside influences are having on your child. So you become that private investigator and help them then, find the balance against the fear. Is this again, challenging the thinking? Is this a reasonable fear? Is it disaster? Is it disaster thinking? Is it, procrastination? What is it? And then underlying, what's the underlying fear? What could happen? Follow it out. What could happen? Talk it out with them. This is going to take time. You need patience and time with all this. So, take your time, be patient with them and then follow it through. The next part of all of this group would be to encourage them. Always, always encourage them. Encourage them to do everything they can. So I'm talking about giving them praise. So even for the smallest things. And you might think, the world is a tough place. They need to toughen up. Guess what? You're their safe haven. Home is their safe haven. They don't have to toughen up. Okay, at home. All right. Home should be a place where they get praised and encouraged. They will have time enough to toughen up the world. You're not mamby-pambying them. In fact, you're building their self-confidence and you're empowering them instead. So, the small steps that they take should be encouraged. They should be praised. And the next thing is to show them how to take small steps. Sometimes a kid is given a project in school and they're huge anxiety about it and they haven't got a clue where to start or how to do it. They just have to get this done by whatever date. Show them the small steps that they can take. They may not learn that in school. This may be something you have to learn in order to teach them. And it's a valuable lesson that they can understand that anything in life, any project, any life project, it doesn't have to be about work or school. It can be about anything in life, but it can be broken down into small steps. So if you don't know how to do that, have a look at my blog on time management, have a look at my blog on New Year's resolutions, and I have another blog coming out next week on affecting change in your life. So that breaks it down into steps. There are actually, I think there are about 9 or 10 steps I've listed there. So have a look at those and teach your kids how to do that. You're taking the fear out of this anxiety that I have to get something done. I have to do this by X time. By breaking it down to manageable steps, they can see, yes, I can achieve this. Yes, it's possible. And you're diluting the fear. So again, is this relevant to your child? Think about it. And if it is, it's a useful tool to teach them. Give them opportunities to practice. That's my next point. Give them opportunities to practice. So if they're afraid of doing something, maybe they need opportunities to practice trying that. Maybe they need to practice avoiding it. Maybe it's something, if it's a bully, it's your job to go into the school and tackle it. You're going to have to see where you can give them opportunities to practice the small steps, opportunities to practice small things that they're afraid of in order to build them up, build up their resilience, build up their confidence, as I said. So think about ways and opportunities that you can help practice things that they're good at. Building their self-confidence through things that they are good at. So if your child has a learning disability, school can be a very anxious place and can be it can be a very hard and tough, really tough for them, very stressful. So where are they good? What are they good at? So if they're great at art, if they're great at sports, that's where you encourage them. That's where you give them the opportunities to practice. If they're good at music, you give them opportunities to practice. You give them opportunities to learn that. So take them out of the environment in which they're struggling. And I don't just mean, they have to avoid school. No, they have to go to school, okay? But give them other opportunities in which they can shine and they can build their confidence back up again. And then the last thing I talk about is recognizing your own anxiety. As I said, sometimes kids will pick up on your stresses, your depression, your anxiety, if you have physical illness, things like that. You have to recognize maybe you haven't been recognizing or you have been avoiding doing something for yourself or doing something about yourself and how you feel and how maybe it's something physical or something emotional. It's time to recognize that this is a problem and I need to do something about it, and I'm doing this for my kids. Sometimes we can't do it for ourselves, but we can do it for somebody else at the start. It then becomes about us, but at the start sometimes we don't do it for ourselves. We do it for our kids. Normally it would be for our kids. So when we can move beyond, we will move beyond that. We will move on beyond it once we get the help. We will move beyond and see, okay, this is for me too. But at the start, just recognizing you have a problem and recognizing that it may be impacting my child is good enough. Okay, and then reaching out for help is the next stage. So I will leave it there. And as I've already said, I will be talking about affecting change in your life on next week. And I hope to see you. I hope this helps in some way. If you have anything in particular you want an answer to, don't forget to tag me and leave a comment below. And I will say good morning. And thank you all for listening once again.